Hello again, everybody. Today is Thursday, February 4th. Welcome back into the Keep Boone Healthy Facebook channel. I am David Jackson, President and CEO of the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us once again. We have talked a lot about resource deployment for the last 11 months right here on this channel, everything from PPP loans to how our schools are operating to how some businesses are functioning and what some of the guidelines look like for what we know now as our COVID-19 pandemic norms, right? So one of the things that we have pledged to do as part of this channel is to keep you aware of different agencies throughout our state and federal government, even some local agencies that are working to help provide resources to those that have been impacted here by COVID-19. One of the best resources that we've had throughout this entire time has been the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And we have with us today Sharon Harvey. She is the Senior Area Manager for the Asheville, Western Area, North Carolina office of the SBA, and just a tremendous resource for us to be able to get a lot of the information out to you on PPP loan terms, when to apply, all of the fun things that we've been talking about that are part of our normal vocabulary now here in the last 11 months. So Sharon, first of all, thank you for spending some time with us today. I know you and your team have been incredibly busy in trying to match folks up with the right resource. Just kind of give us an overview on where the SBA sits today and what you've been able to do to help people throughout not only Watauga County, but Western North Carolina in general.
Well, David, thank you. And I thank the Boone Chamber for inviting me to all the multiple town halls and workshops where I've been able to have the opportunity to talk about the things that the SBA is doing in regards to COVID relief. And prior to COVID relief, we were starting to talk about some of the normal programs and services that we provided. So hopefully we can get more into that as well. But I just want to say that, SBA, we're trying to do our best to get things to the small businesses. We know that they have lost, they've lost revenue. They've got employees that are sitting at home. The supply chain is down. So we're trying to do our best to get things as close to normal as we can. But I would like to say that in this whole thing, I want people to realize that when it comes to providing the funding, we've done 10 years worth of loans in 11 months. So, we keep asking you to be patient. I know that's sort of hard to do when you are, in an economic strain, but when we're looking at, the volume that we've done, so we've crammed 10 years worth of loan disbursement in the 11-month period. So with that being said, with the updates, just want to make sure that everyone is aware of the SBOG. The SBA loves acronyms, or in the real man's world, it's the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. It is out. I know we had been sitting on it for a while. It's coming out of our Office of Disaster office, the same one that administered our EIDL loans. So just to let those that have live venues with the fixed seating and ticket sales to take a look at that grant, and everything that I'm going to be talking about. I'm just going to direct you to the SBA website, which is simply sba.gov/NC. So you'll see what's happening in North Carolina, and then you'll also be able to see all of the other applications, the eligibility of all the other grants and the guarantee loan programs. So you can just bookmark that sba.gov/NC, and it's all there. So I'll mention it a couple of times throughout the podcast. But if you are a live venue operator or promoter, a theatrical producer, or even our arts organizations that have live performances, take a look at the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, because there may be some additional funds there for you to help your venue. I do want to say the emphasis is that venues with multi-purpose space, because I know that we've got a lot of breweries, we've got a lot of farmers with barns, we've got a lot of wedding venues. The key is you have to have fixed seats. So I know it's disheartening for those that may have, removable seats or structures, but that's one of the keys. And that's out of my control. That's part of the legislation. Just quickly on the PPP 1 and 2, if you didn't receive a PPP the first time, you're still eligible. So once again, just log on to the website. The applications are there. If you actually need a second draw for your PPP because the pandemic went on longer than we all anticipated, I would say the first thing, go back to your original lender, talk to them. And then if you're not able, if they're not, doing loans because some banks just chose not to because they had such a huge volume from the first go round, and now they're in the forgiveness sake. So we've got our tool, our lender match tool. I would say go to lender match, which you can also find on the SBA.gov website. And lender match, I like to describe as a lot like lendingtree.com. You just log on, you type in what you need. There is a PPP link, what you need, how much you think you need, answer the few questions within 48 hours. They'll get back to you. And the reason why I say use lender match or recommend it is because it casts a wider net. Although we're here in Western North Carolina, we would love to use a Western North Carolina or North Carolina bank or entity, but it may be that someone in California or Atlanta might say, hey, this is a loan that I would like to back. So in there also, you will find our CFI lenders, which are some of our lenders that take those that may not have the best credit. They have some circumstances that maybe a traditional bank wouldn't look at. So, and I want to say that you can use lender match at any time, not just for the pandemic, but if you are a startup business and you need 10, 20, 30, $50,000 that, the big banks are going to say, that's just not really worth it to us, or, we're not going to make enough money. You can also try lender match for your other small business needs as well. So that's where that's sort of the roundup on the COVID-19 piece, is that the new legislation is out there. March 31st is the deadline for your banker. So if you're still kind of thinking about it and not really sure, I would say make sure you get your application submitted by at least probably the 25th, which gives the bank time to get it to the SBA because that window does close on March the 31st.
One of the things that we saw at the onset, back in April, when the first wave of federal funding came out to folks, was that those funds were gobbled up very, very quickly. Have you seen the same speed this time around with the first draw of PPP, or even some of those businesses that have gone to the second draw? Are you experiencing that same quick release of funds, or do people still have a little bit of time to maybe make that decision because there looks like there will be adequate funding available?
I believe we've been told that there's going to be adequate funding available. I would say the speed has slowed down tremendously. I would say it's probably like half of what it was before. Unfortunately, some businesses have closed, some have sold. And we've been real resilient here in the western part of North Carolina, as with some other states, but we've sort of pivoted, done some things a little different, and have been able to be resilient throughout this. So and some people are just sort of like, well, I just don't want to get too many loans, or I don't want to be overcommitted when it comes to, now I was able to sustain. Now on the back end, I've got now all these loans that I have to pay. So I think people are just still trying to figure out what's coming next. But I would like to say that there have been a lot of people that I've talked to recently that have gotten, they were denied for the EIDL. I hate to say, David, stop doing business on your phone. Open up the emails that we send you on a computer. So many people said, well, I was denied. I said, well, why were you denied? Well, it doesn't tell me. Then they opened it up on their computer and they saw that it might have just been that we needed you to send us your bank account and your routing number. It could have been that we need you to sign a new 4506T, which just gives us the right to look at your income taxes. So I know your phones are great and accessible, but sometimes you got to take and look at open documents and actually read them and see what they say. And I just brought that up because I actually have talked to, what's this, Wednesday? I've actually talked to 4 people, and that was the situation. So I just, I know our phones are right there and they're quick, but sometimes you gotta, go to your computer, open it up and read. So
That's right. Well, I know one of the things that a lot of folks have been reading about and trying to get more knowledgeable about is the forgiveness of PPP loans and what that structure is going to look like. And so much of this last legislation was to try to help, kind of smooth that process. What can you give people on kind of a quick hit on if you've got a PPP loan, especially if you're just getting into that, what do you need to be making sure of from a documentation standpoint, so when it comes time to fill out forgiveness paperwork, that you've got everything that you need and it's organized and it's going to help you get the maximum amount of forgiveness that's available to you?
well, I will say congratulations to us. Last Friday, we actually put out the forgiveness for $150,000 or less for PPP, because originally it was 50,000 on the simplified form. So anyone that received $150,000 or less can now use the simplified forgiveness form. But typically, all we want to see is, your payroll, whether that's canceled checks, whether that's the register, or if you use a third party payroll supplier, your expenses. We just need to see your documentation as to what that entailed. It's all about keeping your paperwork together. And that's what we want to see. So basically, you'll just give that to your lender. Your lender then submits it to SBA. Then SBA gets back to them within 30 days on the forgiveness. And then we'll come back if there's something that's missing. Then we'll just ask for those documents at that particular time. And I will say that, if you should happen to get not forgiven at 100%, you have the right to appeal. Some of it is basically just explanation or documentation that's not complete or thorough. And also with the forgiveness piece, it's just a matter of, making sure, the big key is making sure that it's 60% of whatever you received was used for payroll. That's the big caveat, because if you use 50 of it, 50% for that and 50% for expenses, you're going to have a loan somewhere down the line, because the legislation says that it's 60-40. So 60% of that is for your payroll, whether you brought them back to work or not. So that's the sticking point right there, as far as where people are maybe having to get a $10,000 or $20,000 loan because they didn't meet that 60-40 threshold.
Well, I can't thank you enough for that kind of explanation. And you've been so helpful with this throughout all of the times that we've sent you emails in the middle of the night asking you questions on behalf of members or what have you, about just some of the process that's involved in this. Because not only have you had the volume, but you're spinning up programs that usually take years to come together in a matter of, in some cases, days, let alone months. So I know that has been a tough road, but we really appreciate your help and guidance and all of that. I do want to switch gears here real quick. And you laid this out perfectly a moment ago. We had been talking some about other support services that are supplied by SBA prior to the pandemic. The U.S. Small Business Administration has long been a resource for small businesses, whether it's just starting out, maybe helping get that funding for the next big project, what have you. As we come out of this pandemic-induced recession at some point, where do you feel like the SBA is best positioned to help those businesses that may need kind of a little bit of a prop, or maybe just that one extra resource that can be the difference in digging out of this thing and being off and running again? How can the SBA help with that?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is that I guess it's a good and a bad thing, but people now know who the SBA, who we are. Because there would be times when I would go out and I would say, I'm from the SBA. And they're like, and you do what? Or they thought we only did loans. So I will say that we do fund some great resource partners. Not that all of the entrepreneurial organizations aren't great, but I just love ours. And I think they work well together when people realize they can work with them together. And that is SCORE, which are men and women that have either worked at successful Fortune 500 companies or have run successful small businesses. They're here to give you all their knowledge. So we've got, between our 2 SCORE chapters in the area, we've got over 130 different industries where we've got knowledge. We've got, years where you can sit down with them, talk to them confidentially about where you are in your business, where you're starting it up, whether you need assistance in marketing, your finances. And I'll just say, with finances, that's been the biggest thing that has hurt our small businesses, and that's kept some of them from getting assistance from us. And that's because they know how to do what they do, but they don't know how to track it or how to keep it. So many of them are cash-based businesses. They put the cash in their pocket and they go on their merry way. They don't pay themselves. So that's why, I need the help of all our resources. Even you, David, at the chamber. We need to make sure that our small businesses understand what a profit and loss statement is. What's a cash flow? What's accrual? What's a startup cost versus a recurring cost? So that's why we need all of our resources to assist our small businesses, because those are the things that we have found during the pandemic that they really don't quite have a grip on. But so I mentioned SCORE. We have our Small Business Center. We have our SBTDCs who are there to help small businesses, with your business plan, your marketing. We also have a Western Women's Business Center. So all 3 of these are funded in some way by the SBA. You can work with 1, 2, 3. You can work with them all at the same time. You can come back and forth. But just to know that you have someone else out there that's in the trenches with you. And I always tell people, hey, I just gave you 3 free employees.
That's right.
So, I can get, someone that can help you with your marketing, your finances, your banking information. We've got, especially SCORE, they've got some, retired bankers, but get a relationship with your banker on the front end before you need him on the back end. And when you walk in, they don't know who you are. So having those relationships are so important. And also our resource partners, along with myself, we provide trainings, one-on-one counseling. We have conferences, whether they're virtual or in person. But, like I say, once again, you can find them all under our resource tab on our website, which is sba.gov. And like I say, I always like to send people to the /NC so that you can make sure that you're up to date on what's going on in the world with our resource partners.
Let me ask you one final question, and this is kind of more of a survey based on all of the places that you have Zoomed to, or the folks that you have talked to over the last several months. We've noticed a trend here that a lot of folks that have been working from home for a while have become very used to that lifestyle. Sometimes it's their business has allowed them to work from home. Others are saying, if I could figure out a way to now do my own thing and work from the house and are starting to kind of walk down that road. Maybe this, as you mentioned earlier about the SBA is now known to people because of COVID. Well, maybe COVID has been the thing that has given people that little boost of energy to go out and start that business they've been dreaming of for a while. Do you feel like that's going to be, kind of one of the next big areas for the SBA and other resource partners to help people realize, some of those, once they get settled, some of those things that they may need from a support perspective to launch that successful idea, or maybe to transition their business? Are you seeing other areas of our community go through some of that same transformation, if you will?
We are, David, we are. A lot of people have realized, well, you know what? I want to take my life. I want to control my own life as opposed to working for someone else. And, something like this happens and they have to send you home because they have to try to make it work for them on their end. We have people that have been at home and they've been tinkering around with, with things, whether it's, we've had a couple people that have started writing books and blogs, or, we have men that have started doing woodworking and things of that nature. So we are finding that we are being resilient. We're using our minds, and we're using our hands, and we're at home more. So we have more time to think and do some of the things that we've always wanted to do, but didn't have time to do because we had to go to work. You have to drive there. You have to come back. You have to do all these things that now COVID has forced us to sit down and sit at home. So I would like to say that whether you have that idea on a napkin or it's still in your head, just jot it down. Give one of our resource partners a call. We're still taking calls. You can send us an email. We'll get back to you, and we'll kind of help you flush those ideas out. So whether that's trying to flush the idea out with how much it's going to cost for you to make it, how much it's going to cost for you to market it, or where you're going to market it at, those are things that we can help you do. But people are actually now, like I say, we're resilient as people. We're resilient as a community. And we just need to make sure that when you start your business, that you're moving forward. People are spending time. I have to say myself, I get boxes delivered all day. Well, a couple times a week at least. So we're being resilient. So how do you take those, maybe candles you're making at home, or toys or t-shirts? How do you put those on e-commerce? How do people find you? And how can you sit at home and make and generate income without leaving your home? So those are things that we can actually, help you with. Just because you're at home and you've got an e-commerce business, or you don't have a brick and mortar store, the SBA still has guarantee lenders that are willing to help you. So with the SBA, we've got money from $500 to $5 million and anywhere in between. So depending on what you need, how much you need, we're here to help.
Well, that is very well said. Great advice and a great resource. And again, we thank you for always being willing to answer our calls and emails and help us direct folks. But continued best of health to you as you do such very important work here in our area, and making sure that our local businesses remain as vibrant as possible during this very difficult time. So thanks again for your time today, and we look forward again to having you back on the program one of these days real soon.
Well, thank you, David. And you kept me from putting out my shameless plug, because I was going to say, I only gave you a tip of the nugget because we didn't get to talk about federal contracting. We didn't get to talk about surety bonds. We didn't get to talk about exporting working capital, because so many people are sitting at home making things that go into things that are now exported, whether that's to Canada or whether that's, so see, we've got more conversations that we can have. We've got STTRs, we've got SBIRs, we love those acronyms, but David, I want to say thank you. Anyone that, is looking to start a business, or they're looking to grow their business, or they're trying to dig out of this pandemic, you can send me an email. Be glad to talk to you. Sharon.Harvey@SBA.gov, simply my name, Sharon.Harvey@SBA.gov, or log on to the website, which is simply SBA.gov/NC. We've got all sort of blogs and portals, and we have Ascent, which is our new online training portal for women. So it's for women, done by women, so we don't feel intimidated when you men like growl at us and look at us sternly on those videos. So David, once again, thank you. I can talk all day. And you and yours and the Boone Chamber, I thank you for all that you do for those in the county, and continued success to everyone.
Well, Sharon, if we ever go on an acronym game show, you are my first phone call, because you know them all.
I'll be there
know
for
them all
you.
forwards and backwards.
I'll be there for you.